Hey everybody, it's Mr. Marshall at Stony Lane. I'm coming to you today because I know that you're starting to do a new study with your class. Okay? And that study is something called research. And I know that you definitely heard the word research before because it's a word that we hear. And I know when I was younger, um, I thought research sounded really scary because it sounded like something scientists do and like all these really smart professors and stuff like that. And I thought, wow, I can't do research. And then the first time I had to do research, I was kind of nervous about it. But you don't have to be nervous about research because research, if you look at the word, do you see a word inside of research? Search, right? It means that you're searching for something, and when the word has a re in front of it means you're looking again. So all you're doing is you're looking again to find something that other people know too. But what we're trying to do when we research is we're trying to find facts that exist that other people may have found already and try to think of new things about them. That's what research is. Okay? So just like with lots of things when we work as readers and writers, we've got to try and think, well, what are we going to read about? What are we going to write about? And so today, what I want to teach you is one way that you can get an idea for your research. Are you ready? So, the first step is to think of something that you have learned. Okay, so I'm going to put that. Think of something. Think of something you've learned or something that you know. Okay, right? Think of something that you've learned or something that you know. Okay. And that might be a fact or it might be some ideas that you've had. But start with something that you know. Okay. And then the next step is ask yourself what it makes you wonder. Because we always start wondering things when we learn, right? Because we're not done. Like you learn one thing and then it's supposed to make you think of other things, right? It makes you kind of wonder what else you can learn. Okay, let me show you what I mean. So I want to think of something that I learned. Okay, not something that I've always known, but something that I learned kind of recently. So recently I've been doing a lot of reading about outer space. And the example I'm going to give you is an outer space example, and maybe you've just read a lot about outer space, and maybe you've read a lot about something else recently. It doesn't matter. Just think about what I'm doing with outer space here. Okay? So recently, one of the things I learned when I was reading about outer space came from this book, Mars. Mars is one of my favorite planets, by the way, but one of the things that I learned about Mars is that Mars changed, and it changes sometimes. It's like this picture here. There are three pictures. Sorry, these three pictures of Mars. This one was taken in the month of October, a bunch of years ago. And you see this big white spot on it? That's an ice cap. It's all ice, all ice. And then in January, just a few months later, that's what the ice looked like. Do you see how it got smaller? Okay. And then in March, just 2 months later, that's what it looked like. The ice went from that big to that little in just 5 months. Okay. So that's a really cool effect. And so what I want to do now that I've thought of something that I learned, is I'm going to ask myself what it makes me wonder, right? And then those wondering questions can lead me to research. So what does that make me wonder? One thing that makes me wonder is um, why do ice caps melt on Mars? That's one question that makes me wonder. It also makes me wonder, do things change on other planets too? Yeah. what other changes happen? What changes happen on other planets? Because I know stuff changes on Earth, and I know stuff changes on Mars. Things must change on other planets too. That can be something that I look for, right? Um, I'm going to kind of push myself a little bit more to think of one more question. Like, so what? Right? So these ice caps melt on Mars. That must have an effect on Mars. Um, how how do melting ice caps affect Mars? Right? Because it must matter. Stuff must happen. Like, where does that ice go? Maybe it affects the rest of the planet, right? So that's my third question. So I can start looking for some of this information in some other books. I can look in my book on Mars. I can look in other books about other things in the solar system. I can go on the internet and try to find that in Google or in some other search engine or in an ebook, right? And I can start looking for those kinds of things. And I may find lots of answers and I may find nothing. But now at least I know kind of what I'm interested in researching and maybe learning about and teaching others. Okay. So why don't you try that? And maybe you didn't read about Mars or about any other planet or outer space. Maybe you learned about some other topic. It doesn't matter. Just think about what I did. I thought of something that I learned and I asked myself what it makes me wonder. I came up with some questions that I might be able to explore for my research. Okay? Why don't you try that? And I'll see you next time.